back to useful chimp versus good chimp. Men want to be useful chimps, women want to be good chimps, right? They're not the same. Fit asks, what if after every time she keeps a grudge? Okay. So that's an interesting question. Keeping a grudge, it's like, is she doing it because of how you're handling it? Does she feel degraded by you when she has to admit fault or admit responsibility? And that's the thing you need to ask yourself first and foremost, because women don't like to admit responsibility because they feel like it makes them a bad chimp. Men are more readily admitting responsibility because they feel like that makes them the more useful chimp. You see, back to useful chimp versus good chimp. Men want to be useful chimps, women want to be good chimps, right? They're not the same. So women want to be perceived as good, and by admitting fault, de facto that means that they're not good anymore, right? And so instinctually their chimp brain resists that ownership unless she thinks that ownership makes her a good chimp. So you have to make her feel, because she should feel this way, like a good chimp. Yeah, I'm using, that's just a term, right? I'm not meaning anyone's actually chimps here. Hopefully you guys aren't dating chimps. That'd be weird. AIDS epidemic all over again. But if she's admitting fault, you want to reward her for that, not hold it over her, not degrade her for it. That makes sense. Her reasons for not wanting to take ownership is she doesn't want it to be used as leverage against her in the future. Now I realize that she'll do that to you sometimes, which you don't want to allow, but you don't want to do that to her because that's going to hinder her ability to want to take ownership in the future. So you want to let her know that you're a good girl because you take ownership and actually mean it. And I say mean it, meaning give her the opportunity to fix whatever problem was created, whatever mistakes she made, give her time and opportunity to work on it, and don't beat her up for it. So that's the first thing. You make the mistake and she keeps the grudge. Well, she's using that grudge to have power over you. And that's a way that she is trying to challenge or get power in the relationship. So you don't allow that. And you don't allow that by not accepting critical or contemptuous behavior just because you made a mistake. You're not accepting her to make mistakes because you made mistakes. And you're not accepting her to, and you're not caring. Her problems are her problems. And if she's going to hold a grudge and be with you, that's actually her problem, not yours. And so how would you know she's holding a grudge? Only because she's expressing it to you. Well, if she's expressing that to you based on by treating you in a contemptuous manner, then you put her on ice and you tell her, listen, you want to hold a grudge on me because that's your problem. I'm not that type of person. If you make a mistake, I'm not going to hold it over your head, and I'm not going to have mistakes being held over my head. That's not how we do relationships. So, you know what? I'm going to go and have fun by myself, and I'll call you after the weekend. Or I'm going to go do this over here by myself, and may not say that. You might just do it, and you just ice her. You don't accept the beating you up on the back end once you admit something. They'll only treat you in a manner that you will accept. And so if she's keeping a grudge, it's because you've been accepting it. Don't do that anymore. Now, she may be the type of person who can't give that up. That she's going to keep that grudge in order to try to steal power from the relationship. Don't allow for that. All right. And if she does that and she has to go, then good. Because you're going to find a woman who's not like that. Because they're not all like that. They might try. Most women might try to hold your mistakes over your head. Because understand that's being filtered through their solipsism. The reason they don't admit mistakes is because they're fearful of being a bad chimp, and they're fearful of having their mistakes held over their head and being constantly told you're a bad chimp, and this is why I can treat you poorly or discard you. And they lose power that way. They're fearful of that. And so they express those fears sometimes on the way that they treat you, where you make a mistake and now they want to hold that over your head. And what you're doing is you're not allowing for that. If she brings up something that was already resolved, you just look at her and go, look, we already talked about that. And that's something I'm already working on that stuff. I'm already dealing with that on my own. If you have a problem with that, that's your problem. And you're over with. The conversation over. It is not a discussion for you two to have. Now, if she's like, well, I'm upset about something right now, which is resembling something that happened in the past, okay, well, let's deal with the thing right now. And I understand that something similar happened before, but let's deal with right now and see what's going on, right? And you deal with the problem at hand. But if, let's say, you're having some conflict with her, or you don't do something that she likes, or you tell her no, and then she brings up something in the past, well, that's just an attempt to try to get power over you because she's mad because she's not getting her way in the moment. Bottom line is she's using that to try to get power over you. Okay. And so you don't allow it. You don't allow it. And by saying don't allow it is you call it out for what it is. Sometimes it's a technique I call, calling out the elephant in the room. Right. Is that sometimes a lot of times you do things through action and you don't have to say it because the action says more than what you could ever say in words. But sometimes you do need to call out stuff. Right. And then that's an appropriate time to do that. You say, listen, you're holding this grudge for me over what happened earlier. I want to have a good time tonight. And I think you do too. Let's just let it go. I already told you that it's something I'll work on, and let's just have a good night. And then if she can't do that, you know what I mean? Then, all right, I want to have a good night. And obviously you're not going to have one. So I'm going to let you deal with that. And then I'm going to go off and have a good night, And again, you put her on ice because you're not going to accept punishment and getting beaten up over a mistake. And that means you don't do that to her either. All right. There's a difference between consequences. Okay. And then punishing someone just to manipulate them. You see what I mean? And you don't want to fall into that second category. So you got to make sure that you're not beating her up and in fact rewarding her when she does admit to her fault in something and she's actually going to work on that stuff. That gets a reward, not something you hold over her head. But then on the other hand is you do not put up with, her doing that. And by saying not putting up with it, you remove your time, energy, and attention when she does that. You may have to call it out and say, I'm not cool with that. When you're ready to just be with me and have fun, then let me know. And then you ice her. And if she is insistent on holding grudges and ending relationships over you not being perfect, then she was looking for an excuse to end it with you anyway. That's probably because she's not capable of having healthy relationships. She has things going on up here. Remember, I'm estimating roughly that 70% of women are not capable. And so she's probably fits in that category, which is good because now it opens you up to be single again, have some sex with some hot women that are different than this chick, and get other women in your life that are more of a compliment. If it goes further than that, book a consult, man, get one-on-one or jump in the membership program that we're doing so we can just dive into individual problems.